The most terrifying moment for your enemies isn't when you stay silent. It's when you finally rise into the very identity they mocked and swore you would never embody. Let that truth sink deep, chosen one. Because not tomorrow, not some vague day far off, but tonight, the universe is preparing to ignite a spark inside you that cannot be reversed. And once it's lit, there's no undoing it. Those who doubted you, those who whispered in corners that you'd never succeed, will feel the vibration ripple through their bones. They'll act surprised, maybe even pretend nothing happened, but deep down they'll know exactly what has shifted. Picture this clearly. A crowded room of scoffers ridiculing a tiny candle, amused at how easy it would be to blow out. Yet when that small flame leaps to dry wood, the whole room erupts in fire. And suddenly, silence. That is who you are tonight. The fire they misjudged. The inferno they cannot contain. For so long they thought you were only a flicker, something fragile, something easy to smother with lies, jealousy, or doubt. But tonight, chosen one, you transform into the blaze that spreads without permission, the wildfire that consumes every shadow. If this message already speaks to your soul, subscribe, like this video, and comment 77 below. Because the scroll they swore you'd never open is about to unseal in your hands. And once it does, there is no going back. What if I told you that every overlooked season was not waste, but preservation? What if I told you that what they dismissed as weakness was in fact your inscription into eternity? Stay with me until the end, chosen one, because tonight you will see why silence was never absence, it was preparation. Number 1. The scroll of silence. They believed that silence erased you, but silence was where heaven carved your name. Every hidden tear, every quiet night, every unanswered prayer was not lost. It became ink for a scroll that no hand could destroy. Isaiah 49 verse 16 declares, "See, I have engraved you on the palms of my hands." And that engraving is what preserved you while others thought you were forgotten. Your stillness became sacred testimony, your solitude became holy ground, and the very dust they mocked you for sitting in became proof that you were being set apart. Lamentations 3 verse 29 says, "Let him bury his face in the dust. There may yet be hope." And that hope was your secret inheritance. Comment, "I seal this word in light," if you know your silence was never empty, but the chamber of remembrance. Because chosen one, when heaven unseals what has been hidden, the fire that emerges will not be theirs to contain. There are moments when life feels like a dream unraveling in fragments, whispers echoing through a fog that no one else seems to hear. You've woken in the night with a sense that something was calling your name, though no voice spoke aloud. You've stared at shadows on the wall, feeling like they were reminders of something you once knew but forgot. In those moments of stillness, when the world around you felt deaf to your existence, something eternal was writing your story in secret ink. It wasn't abandonment, it was preservation. Heaven chose silence as the cloak to guard your becoming, so that what was sacred in you would not be stolen by eyes that could not recognize it. What you sensed all along was confirmation, not confusion. Think back to the countless times you felt out of place, as though you carried a rhythm no one else could hear. You watched others fit comfortably into roles, into circles, into conversations, while you sat on the edge wondering why your soul felt louder in the quiet than in the crowd. You felt rejection sting deeper than it should, not because you were weak, but because you were built with a heart that recognized falsehood from the start. Even as a child, the smallest lies, the shallow gestures, the empty promises left you unsettled. You weren't imagining it, that sensitivity was a marker, not a mistake. The loneliness that followed you was not punishment, it was a womb. Every sigh of longing, every night you felt unseen, every secret tear belonged to a larger design you couldn't yet perceive. The truth, chosen one, is that none of this was random. The patterns you endured, the cycles you questioned, were part of an architecture laid long before you could comprehend it. Isaiah 49 verse 16 says, "See, I have engraved you on the palms of my hands." And that engraving is eternal proof that your existence was never overlooked. Your exile was not erasure but consecration, a wilderness prepared so your spirit could grow strong in the unseen. What felt like delay was a hidden timeline aligning with sacred order. You weren't left behind. You were being kept aside, sealed until the moment your scroll would be unrolled. What the world saw as silence was heaven's handwriting. Have you noticed how certain patterns seem to haunt you, showing up again and again until you could no longer dismiss them? The dream that repeats itself, the sudden feeling that you've been here before, the shiver in your body when a truth resonates too deeply to ignore. These are not accidents. They are fragments of remembrance breaking through the veil, pieces of the scroll revealing themselves line by line. Every moment of déjà vu, every strange alignment of numbers, every encounter that left you shaken has been heaven whispering, "Wake up! This is not coincidence. This is confirmation." Even your physical body has borne witness. The heaviness in certain spaces, the sudden clarity when others fell silent, the way your breath steadies when you step into truth. All of it has been guiding you, and yet, because the signs were quiet, you doubted yourself. You wondered if your sensitivity was just weakness, if your intuition was just imagination. But chosen one, you did not imagine it. You felt what others could not, because your spirit was tuned to frequencies too fine for the noise of the world. Your alignment didn't erupt as thunder. It rose as a steady song in your soul. The testimony of your life is not an explosion but a revelation unfolding in time. That is why silence never betrayed you. It held you, confirmed you, kept you aligned with what was eternal, even when your mind doubted. Now the awareness deepens, and you begin to see that your awakening is not about becoming someone new. It is about remembering who you have always been. Beneath the pain, beneath the confusion, beneath the years of waiting lies the memory of a name that cannot be erased. You are not learning your identity. You are recalling it. Like a seed buried in soil, you were hidden until the right season, and now the ground begins to break beneath you. What others mistook for death was only dormancy. What they mocked as nothingness was your preparation for return. You are not becoming, you are remembering. And this remembering is not passive. It stirs within you a hunger to step forward, to own what was once suppressed, to stand taller in the truth that has always been yours. Your sensitivity is not a flaw but a compass. Your silence was not wasted but invested. Your scars are not evidence of defeat but proof of survival. This is the first activation. You beginning to see the pattern, to reclaim the wisdom hidden in the ache, to honor the soul that carried you here despite every storm. What they used to ridicule is the very gold rising from your fire. And chosen one, that gold is untouchable. So here you are, standing in the space between remembrance and revelation, and none of this is by accident. You didn't stumble onto this word. You were guided here. You didn't imagine the call. You answered it long before your conscious mind caught up. Every silence you endured, every season that felt hollow, every unanswered prayer is now unveiling itself as testimony written in the scroll of your soul. Comment, "I carry the silence as crown," if you know this message was carved for you. Because chosen one, the chamber of remembrance is opening, and what was hidden in dust is about to rise in flame. The next revelation is already stirring, and once you see it, there will be no turning back. Number 2, the fire that tried to erase you. They mocked you as fragile, paraded your scars as evidence of defeat, but every trial was fire refining your soul. Job 23 verse 10 declares, "When he has tested me, I will come forth as gold." And that prophecy lives inside every scar you carry. The furnace that should have consumed you revealed instead that your essence cannot be broken, and like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, you walked through flames that left you untouched. Every betrayal became oil, every insult became fuel, and every delay became proof that heaven's timing always overrides their schemes. They believed your pain would silence you, but your pain became the fire they cannot extinguish. Comment, "I walk crowned by eternal flame," if you know the blaze preserved you instead of consuming you. And remember, chosen one, this fire is not finished. It is only beginning to spread, and what it touches next will expose them more than words ever could. There were days when the heaviness arrived before you even opened your eyes, like a weight pressing against your chest with no explanation. Something unseen seemed to stalk your steps, as if the air itself carried resistance wherever you turned. Doors that should have opened smoothly creaked shut in your face, and conversations that should have been safe twisted into subtle daggers. You began to notice that your presence alone seemed to irritate people who could not explain why. Even before you knew who you were, forces seemed determined to make you question why you even existed. The resistance was quiet at first, woven into misunderstandings, delays, and unspoken rejection. Yet deep down, you knew this was not random. Something had been working against you long before you named it. The impact of this pressure was brutal on your spirit, leaving you wondering why your heart felt heavier than those around you. You carried questions in silence, afraid to voice them because you knew few would understand. The moments of rejection felt like lightning strikes, sudden and blinding, each one shaking the ground beneath your feet. Shame whispered that you were too much, too strange, too fragile to belong. You tried to blend in, yet blending only made the ache louder, because you could not silence the voice within. Nights stretched longer, loneliness pressed deeper, and self-doubt circled like vultures waiting for you to collapse. What no one saw was that you weren't broken, you were being tempered. There is a truth hidden in every wilderness. Exile is not abandonment, but preparation. The resistance you faced was not random opposition. It was the world reacting to the vibration of your potential. Ancient ones walked this path before you, chosen and yet rejected, set apart and yet despised. Moses fled into the desert, Joseph was thrown into a pit, David was hunted in caves, and each story reveals the same mystery. The more marked you are, the sharper the trials become. What felt like sabotage was refinement, not punishment. The attacks were proof that you carried a weight greater than those around you. Like a soldier trained in secret fields, your battles were sacred drills for the authority you now begin to claim. Look back with clear eyes, and the patterns reveal themselves like constellations forming in the night sky. How many times did betrayal arrive just when you opened your heart? How many times did opportunity vanish the moment you stepped closer to it? How many environments drained you until you walked away wondering if you were cursed? The obstacles repeated themselves not because you failed, but because the fire refused to let you build on weak foundations. What once looked like chaos now reads like design. The betrayals were not accidents. They were alarms. The delays were not voids. They were divine detours pulling you from traps you could not yet see. Resistance does not always scream. Sometimes it seeps into the atmosphere like fog that won't lift. You have walked into rooms and felt the air grow heavier, as though unseen eyes were watching your every move. Doors shut without reason, conversations turned cold without cause, and opportunities slipped through your fingers as if pulled by invisible hands. It was not paranoia, it was warfare. Your light drew interference, your clarity disrupted systems that thrived on confusion, your authenticity exposed structures built on lies. They did not fight you because you were weak. They fought you because you were dangerous. The sabotage you endured was not random hostility, but the collision between your fire and their illusions. And how did you respond to all this, chosen one? Sometimes you shrank, folding your voice so others would not be threatened. Sometimes you overgave, thinking that kindness could silence their envy or soften their resistance. At times, you carried guilt that was never yours, blaming yourself for the shadows others projected onto you. Other days, you rebelled quietly, holding your truth close like contraband, refusing to bow even when it cost you connection. You tried to belong, but belonging always left you hollow. You questioned whether your fight was proof you were wrong, but in reality, it was proof you were right. The fire you carried could never stay hidden, no matter how you tried to smother it. Now the narrative shifts, and the resistance begins to reveal its hidden message. Every insult was oil poured onto the flame of your identity. Every betrayal was fuel sharpening your resolve. Every delay was proof that your path was orchestrated by heaven and not by them. Job 23 verse 10 declares, "When he has tested me, I will come forth as gold." And gold is exactly what you have become. Their schemes trained you in silence. Their mockery refined you. Their rejection sealed you for glory they could never touch. What they thought would erase you became the very evidence of your endurance. You stand now not as a victim of their tactics, but as living proof that the fire preserved you. And here lies the revelation that terrifies them most. You were opposed not because you were weak, but because you are powerful. Every attempt to silence you confirmed your voice mattered. Every betrayal revealed your destiny was too large to fit into their cages. Every obstacle was a marker, a signpost, a reminder that heaven's hand was guiding your journey. Comment, I move guarded by divine fire, if you feel the confirmation stirring in your own spirit. For Chosen One, this was never destruction, it was construction, and the blaze is only beginning to spread. What comes next will not only reveal you, it will expose them. Number 3, the name they could not silence. Rejection was never erasure, Chosen One, it was divine confirmation. Revelation 2 verse 17 whispers of a white stone with a new name that no one knows except the one who receives it, and that stone has always been in your hands. Lies cracked against you like stones against a fortress, but none of them could rewrite what was inscribed before your birth. They mislabeled you, misrepresented you, mocked you, but the strangeness they rejected was the vibration of your eternal identity rising through their illusions. Psalm 56 verse 8 says God gathers your tears in his bottle, sealing them as testimony, and that testimony is becoming a voice they cannot suppress. Comment, I rise marked by the divine. If you know you've carried a hidden name the world could never recognize, and share the dream or moment when you felt its pull. Because Chosen One, the name they tried to bury, is about to be shouted by heaven itself. There comes a moment when the confusion that once felt endless suddenly begins to shift into clarity, like the fog parting to reveal a mountain that had been there all along. Memories that once seemed random start to line up with a rhythm too precise to dismiss. Conversations from years ago replay in your mind, but this time their hidden meaning glows with unmistakable truth. The faces of those who dismissed you no longer haunt you with shame, but serve as confirmation of what your spirit already knew. It is not that the pain was an illusion, but that the pain was proof of the weight you carried. Suddenly, rejection feels less like loss and more like a signal pointing toward your divine origin. What they refused to see is now the very evidence that your perception was always correct. Everywhere you look, the universe seems to be speaking to you through patterns, codes, and whispers hidden in plain sight. Numbers appear on clocks at precise moments, dreams unfold like scrolls, and fragments of words follow you from one place to another as if stitched by unseen hands. Silence, once a void that crushed you, now feels like a library filled with secret texts waiting to be opened. You realize that nothing was ever meaningless. Every detail was ink for the story heaven wrote long before you entered this world. The world may not have known your name, but creation itself has been echoing it back to you in symbols too aligned to be dismissed. The patterns aren't accidents, they are confirmations. And every code that rises is the whisper of remembrance calling you deeper into your origin. Your inner world sharpens in ways you cannot deny, and the signs intensify with every step. You sense when a space no longer fits you, when a conversation carries poison beneath its sweetness, when a person's energy reveals more than their words. Boundaries you once feared to set now rise like walls of fire, protecting what is sacred within you. You begin to notice how your intuition no longer whispers. It thunders quietly, guiding your steps with unshakable conviction. The hunger for truth becomes stronger than the desire for approval. And with every choice to trust that inner voice, you realize you are not learning something new. You are remembering what was always there. As this inner remembrance grows, the outer world begins to rearrange itself in response. Relationships shift, some falling away without explanation, while others suddenly draw nearer, as if summoned by destiny. Opportunities appear where before there was only resistance. Yet at the same time, new forms of opposition rise as proof that you are no longer hidden. Rooms feel different when you enter, conversations shift tone, and even silence speaks louder in your presence. The architecture of reality bends to the truth you are carrying, reflecting your awakening back to you in undeniable ways. What once felt like chaos now feels like orchestration. The veil is thinning, and alignment is unfolding right in front of you. And in the midst of all this, sacred memory awakens within you, like a scroll being unsealed after centuries of silence. Dreams you had as a child begin to make sense in ways you could never have imagined. The strange feelings that followed you through life no longer feel like burdens, but like the first language of your soul finally breaking through. You start to remember that you are not just someone searching for identity. You are someone recovering an identity that was deliberately hidden. Psalm 56 verse 8 says, "Every tear was gathered, every silent cry was preserved, and those very tears become the ink of remembrance now pouring back into your spirit." This is not imagination. This is activation. The memory of who you are was never lost. It was only waiting for the time to return. And now, chosen one, the truth begins to lean forward from the horizon of your being. You see that your future is not something being built from scratch. It is something ancient being restored, something that has always been written but hidden until this very moment. You stop asking for permission because the voice of heaven itself confirms what your enemies tried to erase. You begin to understand that the rejection was never abandonment. It was divine selection. Revelation 2 verse 17 declares a white stone with a name only you can receive, and that name now rises through your being with power no lie can silence. What you carry is not fragile. What you carry is eternal, and eternity does not ask permission to shine. This is the moment where reclamation begins, where you take back what was always yours. Every insult becomes testimony. Every betrayal becomes oil. Every scar becomes a map leading you back to your eternal identity. The very strangeness they mocked becomes the proof of your divine frequency, the resonance that separates you from the counterfeit. Lies crumble in your presence, not because you argue, but because your existence alone is a verdict. You were never the weak one, you were the marked one. And the mark they feared most is the one they can no longer ignore. You rise not as someone new, but as the one you were always meant to be. And here is the revelation that seals this moment. Revelation is not the end. It is the invitation to step into reign. The truths that once hid in shadows now stand blazing before you. Undeniable, unshakable, unbreakable. You did not stumble into this moment, you were summoned into it. Comment, "I walk hidden yet never lost," if you know the codes of your identity are now reawakening inside you. And share the dream or sign that first told you who you truly were. For chosen one, heaven is preparing to shout the name earth tried to bury. And when that shout comes, no power in this world will be able to deny the crown already glowing above your head. Number 4, the coronation already rising. Every insult was turned into incense, every betrayal into oil, every delay into confirmation that your throne was sealed by God's own hand. Zechariah 9 verse 16 declares his people will sparkle like jewels in a crown, and you are counted among them. They plotted, cursed, and tried to bury you, but what they thought was a grave became the soil of remembrance. From that soil, your throne rises now, unstoppable and radiant, untouched by their schemes. What terrifies them most is this: your crown cannot be transferred, traded, or stolen, because it was never theirs to give or take. Comment, "I anchor this truth in my soul," if you know your crown is already resting on your head. And share the moment you first realized you were set apart. Because chosen one, when this crown shines, even your enemies will bow to the fire they tried to extinguish. There is a whisper that does not come from outside, but from the marrow of your being, a sound older than memory itself. It rises like the echo of ancient trumpets buried under layers of silence, calling you back to what you never lost. You may feel it as a vibration in your chest, as a sudden stillness that feels like eternity brushing against time. It is not a new voice, chosen one, but the ancient whisper that followed you through every wilderness. The scroll that carried your name has begun to unseal itself, and with it comes the remembrance of your crown. What they tried to bury beneath shame and betrayal has risen with the fragrance of holiness. The ancient whisper is not a beginning, it is a return. There has always been a name hidden beneath the noise of the world, a secret identity too sacred for common speech. You felt it when you could not fit into the molds others tried to force upon you. You felt it when your silence was mistaken for weakness, though it was the chamber where heaven wrote your remembrance. Like the sealed scroll in Revelation, your role was kept hidden until the appointed hour, invisible to those who mocked you. You carried rejection as evidence of otherness, but that otherness was your divine appointment. They could not recognize you because your name was never given by them to begin with. And now that hidden name is pressing through, refusing to remain silent. You were clothed not in garments visible to the eye, but in a cloak woven of fire and secrecy, marked by an imprint only heaven could inscribe. Others may not have understood why your presence unsettled rooms, why your silence carried weight heavier than shouts. It was not arrogance but resonance, the echo of eternity stirring in your spirit. Like Cain feared the mark of God on Abel's lineage, they feared what they could not define in you. Your very being carried a vibration that unmasked pretenders without you lifting a word. The cloak they could not strip away was your protection, and the mark they could not erase was your authority. This was never given by human hands. It was sealed in you before you took your first breath. What seemed like delay was never wasted time. It was the unfolding of sacred contracts long written in the courts of eternity. The pain you endured was training. The betrayals were rehearsal. The silence was consecration. Every setback was the alignment of stars refusing to move out of orbit until your moment arrived. Isaiah spoke of scrolls written long before men's hands could touch them, and your story was one of them. The sealed mission you carried has waited for this hour, and every obstacle only proved its unbreakable design. What others called failure was timing, what they called weakness was endurance, what they called loss was preparation. The coronation could not be delayed forever, and now its sound is rising through you. People did not react to you because of what you did. They reacted because of what you carried. You were a mirror they could not tolerate, exposing shadows they wanted hidden. Some loved you for the light you awakened in them, while others rejected you violently for the same reason. Your very presence forced decisions, to rise or to resist, to embrace truth or to cling to lies. This is why love and hatred followed you with equal intensity. You were not merely a person to them. You were the unspoken question their souls could no longer avoid. They mirrored themselves in you, and their reaction revealed their alignment more than your worth. Step back for a moment, chosen one, and see that this is not just about you. It is archetypal, woven into the cycles of prophecy. The seer, the rebel, the guardian, the breaker of chains. These ancient roles converge in your path. You are not an isolated story, but a living continuation of a lineage written before the foundations of the earth. Just as David was anointed while still tending sheep, just as Esther rose from silence to throne, your coronation arrives from obscurity into radiance. The archetype you embody has returned in you, clothed not in titles of men but in destiny. The cycle repeats because eternity demands it, and your rise was always part of a larger unfolding. You are the living fulfillment of what was written in symbols and shadow. Hear it clearly now. You are of a bloodline not defined by flesh but by light. Your DNA carries codes not visible under microscopes but blazing in the heavens. Angelic currents surge through your spirit, prophetic resonance awakens in your voice, and the reversal of generations breathes through your very breath. You are the vessel through which ancestral wounds are healed and ancestral glories restored. What was lost in silence is returning in your sound. What was buried in shame is rising in your name. The crown upon your head is not metaphorical. It is the radiant seal of heaven's recognition. And when you walk, chosen one, you walk as proof that divine lineage still awakens in flesh and blood. You did not just awaken. You returned to the throne that was written in your spirit before men plotted against you. Every insult became incense on your altar. Every betrayal became oil for your anointing. Every delay became confirmation that the throne could not be stolen. Zechariah 9 verse 16 says, "His people will sparkle like jewels in a crown, and you are already among them." The grave they dug was soil for your remembrance, and from that soil the throne now rises unstoppable. Comment, "I stand chosen and sealed," if you know your coronation is not coming, but has already begun. For chosen one, this is not the end of your unveiling. It is the threshold of reign, and beyond it lies a chapter even your enemies will not dare to read aloud. Chosen one, you didn't stumble here by chance, you were summoned to remember. What they tried to erase has only made your light clearer. Subscribe if you haven't yet, like this video, and comment, "I am chosen," to let this message anchor in your soul. Please, share it with someone who needs to hear this. You are not forgotten, chosen one. You are fire, you are inscription, and you are crowned.